Regardless of where customers are in that journey, whether they're committed to VMware or they're actively looking for alternatives, we have been investing, really since even before the Broadcom merger was announced, in creating fully automatic platforms to put in any virtualization package or eliminate virtualization as a requirement. We have customers who just skip virtualization and go directly to bare metal and run things on bare metal.
Hi, this is your host Apnil Bhatia and welcome to TFR Newsroom. And today we have with us once again Rob Hirschfeld, CEO and co-founder of RackN. Rob, it's great to have you on the show.
Swap, it's a pleasure. There's a lot of turbulence in the air right now, and I'm excited to come in and see if we can compare notes and make some good recommendations for people.
So when we look at this, when the whole Broadcom and VMware acquisition was underway, we have some suspicions, we had some doubts, but we were like, you know what, let's wait and see what happens. And now it's time where we are seeing things. So let's talk about, of course, as we discussed earlier, we knew some of these things will be happening, but just give us a quick update on what's going on. And let's once again focus on how it's going to impact customer and ecosystem.
We spent a lot of time talking about worst case scenarios for the Broadcom acquisition. I think that most of the predictions, most of the signals that Broadcom was sending were accurate. So it's they're not leaving VMware alone. They are implementing a strategy, a consolidation strategy that you would expect them to go through. I do think that the market is overreacting a little bit to what they're doing, meaning that there's a lot of scary statements about Broadcom shutting down a whole bunch of products, consolidating licenses, cutting off partners. All those things are true. What we're seeing Broadcom do very concretely is they are turning those actions into product consolidation. So from Broadcom's perspective, what they're doing is they're taking what was a sort of very broad, a lot of moving parts, a lot of pieces and parts, a la carte menu, and they're consolidating that down. They're not really killing as many products as it might look like. They're definitely laying people off and making the company smaller. But what they're really doing is they're consolidating the product suite into a fewer number of products. And then those products will be more expensive when they license them. So VMware had evolved to sort of let people turn a lot of knobs on pricing. And Broadcom is coming back and saying, no, we're just going to sell you some mammoth suites that have all of it in. We're going to charge you more for that. And you're going to have to get used to that. They're also switching they're very aggressively, which was expected, to annual licensing. VMware had been trying to do that for a long time and, kept sort of moving slowly there. Broadcom accelerated the transition for that. And then I think, one of the biggest questions in all these pieces is actually how, from a partner perspective, Broadcom is doing more aggressive things. They'd already signaled that they wanted to take control back of the top customers. They don't have a good story yet on what the overall partner strategy looks like. Hopefully we'll talk a little bit about some of RackN's perspective, because we deal with VMware software quite a bit for customers. But at the end of the day, Broadcom has sent really mixed signals into their partner ecosystem. And I think that is, of the things I'm seeing, one of the most concerning pieces, because a lot of VMware relationships are not as direct with VMware. They're actually managed through these partners, and partners provide a lot of consulting, support, integration. And I think that is something that we're going to need to dig into quite a bit more.
While they are consolidating all the product and making it kind of, it depends how you look at it, easier or difficult or expensive, cheaper. What does it mean for customers?
On the surface, I think that customers who are using VMware products should expect to pay more for VMware. That's the short version. They should also be expected to be facing a choice to sort of go all in and to leverage more of the VMware product suite. The ones who have been picking and choosing parts of VMware, and getting a discount because of that, like not as invested in the ARIA automation suite, I think you're going to find that you're not going to find. They are being built in and bundled, and you're going to have the financial incentives to leverage the tooling much more deeply. Or if you're going to keep using VMware, you're going to be paying for that suite whether you use it or not. And so I think customers who are using VMware today are going to be facing the choice to go all in on VMware even more than they have been, or decompose their infrastructure into smaller vendors and smaller pieces and parts, take more ownership of the different layers of their application stack. And that's, potentially a very good choice for people to have to make, right? Enterprises should be deciding, do they want to bundle in more capability, or do they want to have a little bit more control of their supply chain and their destiny by making choices at individual layers?
How is the market reacting to these changes? How are partners, how are competitors, how is the whole vendor ecosystem reacting?
The market is being rung like a bell at the moment. There's a ton of hand-wringing. There's a lot of uncertainty and doubt. Every single one of our customers and prospects and partners are reevaluating their relationship with VMware.
And as you mentioned, some companies are reevaluating. What options, what alternatives are there for them?
This is exactly what our customers are asking us and asking themselves. There is no other company that has the breadth of offering that VMware has, right? From the hypervisor, Kubernetes pieces, the control, cost management, security, right? VMware has truly built a huge vertical stack for customers. Although in our experience, very few customers are using that much of the stack. They're taking bits and pieces from it and not trying to use all of it together. What the first thing that we are encouraging is that the better foundational story, so bare metal up, the better story you have from that perspective, the better you are protected from having any of these supply chain vendors interrupt your systems, including VMware. So even if you are a VMware shop, we help customers actually weaken VMware's hold on the infrastructure by allowing them to have better control of the bare metal. And then that in turn makes it easier for them to substitute, change, have more control and power, both over the hardware vendors and over VMware. And we are really helping customers who are investing in the real virtualization alternatives to VMware. Nutanix is having a very good year. Scale.io is a big deal. We are seeing a ton of interest in Proxmox, which is an open source virtualization package that you can get support for. It's pretty basic stuff, but it works really well. A lot of all the components I'm talking about have some degree of converged infrastructure, some storage underlay. So they have pieces and parts. The difference here is that you typically have to do more work around those platforms to make them fully automated or bring in all the same pieces. Most of our customers have a challenge looking at that as much enterprise scale. RackN is working with, and our customers are top banks, gaming companies, telecoms, drug, government, you name it. And what they're really looking to do is build better controls so that those virtualization platforms can be fully managed, that they can bring in the storage and networking capabilities around those platforms. In the most senses, people haven't needed as much virtualization management as they've been sold today. And so, a product like Proxmox or even running Kubernetes on bare metal is more than sufficient to give you the types of infrastructure controls. And it's not just more than sufficient, it's actually very cost effective. It will create a better control infrastructure for companies. And so a lot of these alternatives that were a distant second before are now coming up into full spectrum evaluation. And I think that that's good for companies. It's good for the industry to have some real alternatives, and it's good for the enterprises themselves to be able to say, you know what, I can actually create an abstraction layer around my virtualization management system, and then focus on helping people at the platform level, and then obfuscating a lot of these tools behind the scenes.
So when we look at this whole development that is happening here in the market, talk a bit about role of RackN. How are you planning to help customers who are in this, either re-evaluating phase or, just there are some big challenges they have to look at?
Regardless of where customers are in that journey, whether they're committed to VMware or they're actively looking for alternatives, we have been investing, really since even before the Broadcom merger was announced, in creating fully automatic platforms to put in any virtualization package or eliminate virtualization as a requirement. We have customers who just skip virtualization and go directly to bare metal and run things on bare metal. And so what I would encourage people to do, and we are actively in conversations with a lot of both customers and prospects here, is have processes that allow them to use multiple virtualization platforms. If that's VMware, we help customers make their VMware less connected into the infrastructure so that they have more choices for that. If it's evaluating something like Nutanix, we've built completely automated Nutanix cluster builds. So you eliminate the services and the startup costs, and the networking topology, a lot of things that slow people down in building that. We've completely eliminated those pieces. The same is true for Proxmox. We're starting to talk to companies like Scale, where you can actually come in and get those systems running, very little overhead, very little difference. And then we also help customers who want to create some virtualization abstractions on top of these platforms and create pipelining, cluster patterns, things that allow you to decouple the virtualization platforms that you're then using. So we've done some really interesting work on VMware, Nutanix, Proxmox, where we're not just building the bare metal infrastructure and installing the virtualization platform. We then follow up with a whole bunch of operations in the virtualization cluster itself, so that all of those processes and operations that are necessary to fully operationalize the cluster, to consume resources in those clusters, those are also abstracted. And so that sort of bottom layer and top layer abstraction means that customers can can evaluate multiple virtualization platforms, and then they can start making choices based on support, features, capabilities, be much more vendor neutral in how they operate the systems. And one thing I should note that's really, really important, because we've done some fantastic work in doing secure boot for VMware, and improving delivery speeds for VMware. We have some technology that can actually deploy VMware servers in the order of 40 or 50 times faster than the traditional Pixie boot processes. And those can be applied across the board to any one of the vendors. So don't just look at this as a translation move where I'm swapping out one for the other. This is actually an opportunity for companies to come in, improve their decoupling from a virtualization vendor, and have faster deployment times, hardware agnostic infrastructure, improved security, better processes, controls, and integrations. So, we really encourage companies that are facing this question to not just look at, oh my, I have to replace VMware, but actually look at this as an opportunity to really improve the foundational processes that run their infrastructure. There is no reason that you have to just substitute VMware for another locked-in vendor. There's actually tremendous opportunity to solve this virtualization supply chain problem in a long-term, durable way.
Rob, once again, thank you so much for taking time out and talk about this topic. And as usual, I look forward to a next discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Swap.